Most marketing consultants are stuck watching AI transform their industry from the inside, unsure how to pivot from their services or integrate AI strategically without becoming just another AI consultant in a crowded marketplace. Hello, I'm Paul, and welcome to my podcast, the Paul Higgins Podcast, and this is episode 648. In this episode, I talk to Mark Emond from Demand Spring. You will learn from Mark how to successfully pivot from a traditional marketing services to AI enhanced offerings without losing your core expertise and ultimately your clients. The innovation lab model that keeps your team experimenting with new AI tools while serving clients better, while skating to where the puck is going with AI transformation created new revenue streams and competitive advantage for Mark. Mark Emond founded Demand Spring after 17 years of marketing leadership at IBM and Cognos. Rather than getting disrupted by AI, he proactively transformed his 13-year-old marketing consultancy into an AI transformation leader, showing how established service providers can evolve successfully. Over to Mark Emond from demandspring.com. Great to have you here, Mark.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Paul. It's a pleasure to join you and talk a little marketing today with you.
Yeah. Well, look, you've had a fantastic transition, and what a time we're all living in. This is coming out in November 2025. We're recording it a little earlier than that, so there's probably been so much change in AI since we've recorded this, but it is quite incredible. So we're going to dive into that journey for you of moving from more digital marketing or marketing into automation. But why don't we kick off with who your ideal clients are and what problems you love to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am based in Canada, in Ottawa. We've been around for about 13 years. We serve mid and large enterprises. So we're a B2B marketing consultancy that works with a lot of organizations in the tech industry, financial services, and some other B2B industries. Most of our clients tend to be, mid-sized enterprises, 300 million in annual revenue and higher, right up to a lot of Fortune 1000 organizations that have been clients for years and years and years with us. We deliver a mix of strategy consulting and technology consulting. And we've really, over the last year and a half, pivoted to driving AI transformation throughout our client base. And excited to talk more about that today with you.
Great, and we'll go to that at the moment. Before you made that shift, what were some of the common problems that you saw? If you look at that sort of bottom of the enterprise level, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've gone through over the past, I'll call it 20 years, a real exceptional transformation in B2B marketing. I before founding Demand Spring, I spent 17 years in the tech industry, organizations like IBM and Cognos, and starting with I think marketing automation, around mid 2000s. We saw a real change in how B2B marketers went to market. I started my career in the mid 90s, and marketing automation, early vendors like Eloqua and Marketo really drove a change in how we act and think and execute as marketers.
Yes.
Much more data driven. We got used to new language like lead scoring and lead nurturing and account-based marketing, during that 20-year period. And, so I think for the first, Demand Spring was founded in 2012, and it was really founded because we had done some amazing things on the client side. And I really saw a need to bring that to other organizations, and I had a desire to bring it to other organizations. And I think, to answer your question, organizations were going through that transformation, have been going through that transformation over the last 20 years or so on the marketing side, which is being much more pipeline and revenue focused, being able to get much more hyper targeted in each stage of the buyer journey and the customer life cycle as well, with a combination of data and content that was much more prescriptive and personalized. And I think that's the problem that we have solved historically within our client organizations, is helping them transform, become much more strategic and consequential to the bottom line and the top line of the organization, using a combination of data, content, technology, and more advanced growth marketing strategies.
Yeah, well, if you look a lot in if I call it the SME, certainly the SaaS companies, etc., you've seen the emergence of RevOps and the CRO role, Chief Revenue Officer, etc. Has that happened in enterprise as well? Has there been, what's your insight there?
RevOps for sure, as you know, I think organizations have seen benefit in looking at a more aligned sales operations and marketing operations team that is looking at the continuous process of lead management through to close and then reporting. And also, I think there's huge benefit too in looking at how marketing and sales are aligned when it comes to marketing campaigns, sales plays, and the execution across both. And, you know, certain business processes like account-based marketing, I think have helped really facilitate the growth in RevOps organizations as well. And certainly the technologies and the integration across MarTech and sales tech technologies have also made a combined operations team make sense as well. CROs, yes, as well in larger organizations. You know, I would say probably in the biggest organizations we work in, the sales function and marketing function. And it really also depends on industry, less so in financial services, probably more so in the technology industry. You see the combination.
Yes.
But you still very much have CMOs that have a pretty broad remit when it comes to not only growth, but also the brand, customer success, being an advocate and a champion. That role is still a very strong and vital role in mid and large enterprises.
Right. And, you said you made the pivot from marketing into AI and providing strategy and consulting for AI. Sort of take
Yeah.
us into that. Was it a wake up overnight? Was it a slow, long burn? Sort of take us through that journey of why you decided to go that way.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, first and foremost, we still serve marketing. That is still our core target audience. I think, you know, we like to think that we are evolving and maybe leading a little bit compared to some other organizations like us when it comes to getting out ahead. Certainly when we made this pivot about a year and a bit ago now, you know, we believed that the puck, to use a Canadian term, we skated to where the puck was going to, not
Yes.
where it is now. You know, knowing that, again, and kind of living and seeing that the 20 years of growth that we've seen under marketing automation was maturing pretty significantly, you know, understanding that AI had tremendous promise to help improve some of the gaps that still exist within marketing organizations, large and small, operating in silos, misalignment, the ability to get deeply personalized, of using predictive analytics and AI-driven analytics to get a much deeper, broader, and personalized understanding of the customer journey and the buyer journey.
Yes.
So, yeah, you know, I think it's a natural evolution of where we see the market going and where marketing, I think there's so many reasons for CMOs to think about how they transform their people, process, and technology with AI. And so we're excited to be playing in that space. And, you know, we don't have all the answers. We're figuring things out as we go as well. But I think we're doing some good work and we're learning a lot and we keep evolving how we're showing up to our clients in terms of serving them with AI.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll go into what that means in a moment. But, I spent nearly 20 years in enterprise and as an employee, I remember vividly the moment we sort of had Blackberries because of
Mhm.
security reasons. Then all of a sudden, personally, we started getting iPhones and there was this huge transition of IT departments screaming at individuals with iPhones, us screaming at IT departments saying, "But they're so much better. We want all that functionality, right?" Most of us have lived through that. How are you finding this transition with AI? Is there individuals wanting more and then certain limitations within what the enterprise allows? Sort of take us through what you're experiencing there.
You know, I think first of all, it's interesting. One of the seminal content pieces when you and I probably started our careers was Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm.
Yes.
And so when we made this pivot a year and a half ago, we very much said, you know, we're targeting visionary CMOs. Not everyone is going to be ready to adopt AI in a transformative way, but we're seeking visionary CMOs who are early adopters of AI from a strategic perspective. And, you know, that's a subset even today of all the CMOs that are out there, right? I think we're moving more and more towards the early majority. But first and foremost, it's looking for visionary CMOs who understand that AI can be transformative in changing marketing processes, productivity, efficiency, and, you know, the ability to drive growth. And then it's working through the limitations, as you said, within organizations from a compliance perspective, from a governance perspective, from a pace of change perspective, ability to transform business processes, to upskill people and bring the people along. AI is a technology, but it's more so, we believe, a change management process. And bringing people along is the biggest part of that. So that's a big part of what we do and what we've been focused on today. And the area that we've sold the most is upskilling B2B marketers to get more curious, confident, and competent with AI.
The AI, are you leveraging what's in platform? So, for example, Marketo we mentioned before, but whether it's Marketo, Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever the tools they're using, is that where you start, or is it more on, I'm assuming most of them on Microsoft using Microsoft Copilot, or, there might be a third party tools that are, doing data scrape and, other things. Where are you seeing the departure point or the entry point for you to then start to
Yep.
expand AI?
Great question. I'd categorize the answer in three ways. One is, as you said, existing technology that they own. So typically, one of the ways that we'll start with a client when it comes to AI is we'll come in and do an assessment of their current use of AI, and we'll always do that after really understanding their business priorities and their marketing priorities and making sure that we're tuning what we're looking at to what they're trying to accomplish with the technology. Yeah, within platforms like a Marketo, like a HubSpot, like a Salesforce, how are they using the AI functionality that is present within those platforms? Are they fully utilizing it in alignment with their marketing priorities? Are there gaps in their uses or use case of it? Secondly, then we're also looking at how are they using LLMs? Copilot, you're right, is probably the number one LLM in mid and large enterprises that we see. But we see OpenAI, we see Gemini as well, and others like Claude and Perplexity as well. And then the third area are bespoke AI technologies that fit some really unique gaps. So one, for example, we're just creating a partnership with an Israeli company called Brandlight that plays in the GEO space, so AI search, right?
Mhm.
We have seen in the last 3 months or so, a lot of our clients' website traffic really start to drop as a result of search
Yes.
and search summarization, right? So Brandlight is a bespoke technology that really helps organizations audit and optimize, along with our services, their LLM search, for example. So that's just one of a few technologies that we look at from a bespoke perspective that can fill some gaps depending on needs, gaps, priorities, and business performance.
Great. And is LIGHT or yes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll have that in the show notes. And is it sort of with the assessment? Are you finding that it's? I'm assuming not everyone has that plastered on their LinkedIn profile. I'm a visionary CMO waiting for Mark to knock on my door. How do you detect who a visionary CMO is?
Yeah, it's a great question. Certainly within our own client base, I think we have a mix of those who are a little bit maybe more risk tolerant when it comes to leveraging AI from a strategic perspective and those who aren't quite there yet. But then we also find visionary CMOs knocking on our doors and coming to us, or referrals of visionary CMOs
Yes.
who are looking to not just experiment. I think we generally find now AI is present in most marketing organizations, and it's coming generally in two forms, either employee driven, lots of
Yes.
experiments,
Yes.
but not a lot of strategy necessarily governing it at this point,
Yes.
or it's CMO driven, and they're trying to drive it out through their teams in a more strategic manner. And they're looking for help from us on ring fencing a strategy and a set of priorities and an investment around people, process, and technology. The ones in the latter camp finding us, there's a lot more out there that we haven't intersected that we'd love to, obviously, but that's generally how we're doing business in the AI space today.
Yeah, great. And from a go-to-market point of view, I was having a discussion yesterday with someone where their go-to-market is very different to the go-to-market that they prescribe for their clients, i.e., they're more relationship-based. The client's obviously using more of the technology at scale, and it doesn't work. You're selling services,
Yeah.
relationship. If you're selling to lots and lots of people, tended to be more automation. What's your go to market? How are you getting these visionaries?
Yeah, a combination, both sales and marketing efforts. So, we have always invested in our own marketing from a content and intellectual property perspective, and also a systems perspective. We've long used more enterprise-like tools like Marketo and Salesforce
Yes.
CRM as our tools. We're leaning into a variety of AI tools ourselves right now, from content creation to sales enablement tools and sales outreach tools that are AI centric. Plus a combination of our own sales efforts and relationship building referrals. That's always a great way for, I'm sure, many of your clients. That's probably a number one way that many of your clients generate their listeners generate their business. And that's not unlike how we do it. We also strive for a strong marketing. I don't want to call it marketing. We're not marketing led, but I think marketing assisted effort when it comes to creating awareness, engagement, and leads for us.
Great. And you said content. What's the best performing channel for content at the moment?
I think it is social media. LinkedIn, a great channel for us. We certainly try and engage a mix of owned, earned, and paid media. We strive for PR and getting our name out there in the form of speaking at events and on podcasts. We dedicate a portion of our marketing budget to paid efforts, but I think our owned efforts when it comes to social especially is a great fit with our target audience, and gives us the ability to really be focused in our messaging and our targeting efforts.
Great. The AI tools that you're using, what are some of the ones
Yeah.
that you're using at the moment?
ChatGPT and Gemini are the two LLMs that we use internally. We use them for, a lot of our support, I would say. I
Hmm.
think we try and balance, AI as an assistant to our thinking, and those are two primary ones that we use. Tiga AI is a sales enablement platform that we're using. We partnered. Andre Yi is the CEO and founder of Tiga. Andre's a former founder of Triblio, and was one of the early founders of Eloqua as well. And he
Okay.
started this platform, Tiga. We're looking forward to Brandlight and being able to use
Hmm.
Brandlight as a partner of theirs moving forward. So
Yep.
those are some of the ones that we're using internally. Our team is also doing a lot of work and really playing and getting more comfortable with tools like Make and Clay and
Yes.
Replit,
Yes.
N8N as well. We're starting to use. So, we'll talk a little bit more when you and I talked offline before this. I talked about our AI Innovation Lab. I'm sure we'll get
Yes.
into that, but that's providing a nice forum for our team to really start to use a variety of AI platforms, get more comfortable with them, and then use them either for operational purposes internally or client-facing purposes externally.
Yeah, so 15 people on full time. You've got about 15 contractors. If you were giving advice to someone listening right now on how to set up this innovation lab, go for it.
Yeah, so just a bit of background, the AI Innovation Lab is an extension of our AI enablement internally. One of the services that we offer clients is a 12-week AI training program that's tailored to B2B marketers.
Hmm.
So we have the director of our vice president of our AI services practice leads this 12-week training program with our clients, taking them through everything from prompt training and advanced prompt training to using different LLMs and different bespoke technologies, and really helping them get more comfortable using AI and go through that process of change. We went through that program ourselves
Yes.
and really helped bring along our team to get more comfortable using AI with a variety of consulting skill sets on the team. And now the next step in our journey is we have funded an AI innovation lab internally where people come up with ideas, build proofs of concept, and then we look to fund those proofs of concept, turn them into pilots, and either commercialize them or use them for our own internal operational efficiencies. And, I think the number one piece of advice I would have there, which is something that our VP of AI services, John Milne, has really driven, is people need to play when it comes to AI. They need
Yeah.
to get comfortable through being curious and
Yes.
trying things. And it is amazing, especially as consultants, when you unleash creativity with AI, what people can create. But you've got to give them license to do that. We haven't said no to any project yet because we want people to keep exploring, keep pushing. We don't want to sideline anybody from getting more comfortable, more creative, and more innovative with AI.
There's a lot of talk in the media at the moment. I know Monday.com's share price has plummeted. This is once again recorded in August. But that's basically saying that the LLMs, et cetera, will do a lot of the functions that the typical project management tools have done in the past. I'm sort of in agreement to that. We won't dive into that, but where my question is going is, are these innovations that you're creating, are they standalone or are they supporting existing gaps in SaaS platforms?
Both. In
Yep.
cases, we're looking at how do they integrate into various platforms. And in other cases, they're very much standalone. And again, I think even going back to your point about Monday.com, our view is taking the long game when it comes to AI. Again, we don't have all the answers. We have a lot of questions, and some of those questions are, what is the landscape going to look like 2, 3 years from now? What is the vendor landscape going to look like? We believe it's less important to get very familiar with specific AI technologies and more important to get very familiar with using AI, using it for creativity, using it to think about how you apply it to business problems today. I think one of the beliefs I have is that people who are very comfortable with AI is super important. But as a consulting organization, I think more and more moving forward, having good strategic abilities to identify business problems and connect them to how they can be solved with AI is going to be more important.
Absolutely agree. And then, when I was in last in corporate was 2011, but around 2009, it was sort of digital. We're going to turn everything digitized, right? And I was head of strategy, so yes, had to get ahead of it, etc. And it ended up being Sam Altman uses a transistor, and if you might have heard me say this, you've been listening lately, that he was saying, the transistor, everyone thought it was brilliant, but then all of a sudden it just became entwined into everything. And AI, that's what happened with digitization. All of a sudden, just it became everything. So I do think you need to dedicate resource to learn it, like you have with the lab, and like you said, play with it, etc. But I do think the business I was in, which is basically Coca-Cola, was still Coca-Cola
Mm.
after it, right? We didn't move our business into a digitized company. We just
Yeah,
used digital to get more to consumers and fast track what we're doing. And I think that's a good analogy so far with AI. I know that, if the worst case plays out where all of a sudden our species is superseded by, the next version, which is, AI driven, that change everything. But I think if it's a natural path, like I think it's going to go that what it is. So yeah, I totally agree. It always goes back to what is the business problem you're trying to solve here, and how does all of our services integrate into that? And you picked me up early when I said, you're an AI. No, it's like we're still doing marketing services. We're just
yeah,
adding AI to it to get a result for our clients. And I think
100%.
that's really important. Quick question on the assessment, which is, great. Is it a paid or free assessment that you're
Yeah, it's
providing?
typically it is paid. It's part of a strategy service that we offer where, we will come in and develop an AI strategy over the course of a 24, 36-month time horizon. That's not how long it takes. That's the planning horizon. And we front that with the assessment. So we'll come in, do the assessment, and then work with the client to develop an AI strategy that aligns to their marketing and business plan
Yes.
and priorities to look at how do they drive investment for the next 2 to 3 years across people, process, technology.
Yeah, fantastic. And just a reminder, we're listening to Mark Emond, episode 648. And what we're going to do now is just pause, thank our sponsors, and then we'll come back for the rapid fire. Brilliant execution, terrible strategy. You can solve any client problem, but you're stuck in the same revenue patterns, same deal sizes, same time for money trap. I'm Paul, and I built and sold a 7-figure consulting business, but here's what I've learned mentoring other consultants. The real breakthroughs happen when you combine my experience with live problem solving of people going through exactly what you're facing now. In my group program, Steve works through his VA delegation challenge with Jed. Jed shares what's actually working. Andrew tests his pricing strategy with Casey, and Casey demonstrates his client onboarding system. Everyone's figuring it out together with my guidance based on what I learned the hard way. It's not theory, it's real-time strategic thinking with consultants in the trenches, plus someone who's already made the journey. Stop grinding alone. Start thinking strategically. Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/WWM. That's paulhigginsmentoring.com/WWM. So, Mark, ready for the rapid fire?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's go. So, the first question, which we've covered a lot of AI, but is there any AI personally that you're really loving at the moment that we haven't mentioned?
I mean, ChatGPT I find is fantastic. The other one that I've just started using actually in the last week is there's AI added to it, I'd say, but it's called Whisper Flow, WISPR Flow, which is voice recognition at the next level. That's enabling me to type less and talk into emails, Google Docs, and other technologies. And the AI component takes my ums and ahs and my stumbles and my incoherent thoughts and frames them into more coherent thoughts. So I'm enjoying that a lot right now.
Yeah, look, I've heard really good things. I'm using Super Whisper at the moment, and I haven't got on at my holiday house, and the difference between native Apple dictation and Super Whisper is just day and night. I actually had to go back and correct some emails that I'd sent because I just naturally thought it was going to sort all that stuff out. So yeah, that's brilliant. And for you, we've talked about the go-to-market strategy is around relationships predominantly, but is there anything in particular that surprised you of late? Anything in particular that's working well?
Well, I think we have seen, I talked to visionary CMOs about a month, a year and a half ago. We made our pivot and we identified visionary CMOs. And we had a nice year last year when it came to really initiating AI services and driving first of a kinds across clients and a variety of services. I'd say in the last 2 months in particular, we have really started to see the acceleration of interest in investing to drive a much more strategic approach to AI within organizations. Probably aligned to some degree to the budgeting and planning cycle for FY26 for many organizations.
Yes.
But we've got many more organizations right now who are coming to us saying, we want your help in building an AI strategy for the next 12 to 24 months, in upskilling our people, in using AI for bespoke marketing use cases, be it much more targeted, personalized ABM, GEO, as we talked about, or AI
Yes.
search,
Yes.
and other areas. So starting to really, I don't know that we've moved into early majority yet, but we're starting to see much more strategic investment interest in AI from CMOs and their teams at this point.
Brilliant. So where do you go to learn more about how do you drive demand spring?
Yeah, it's a great question. First and foremost are our various mentors. We've got a
Mhm.
great board of advisors at DemandSpring. We've got folks like Doug Buescher, former CMO of Salesforce and CEO of LeadSpace, Carol Myers, who's the CMO of Rapid7, and a number of other organizations that she took public. And we've got some other great advisors. Nick Edward, who was the one of the founders of Path Factory, is on our board. So really leverage a lot of the people who have forged great companies before me and lean into them for what they can pour into me.
Yes.
And then a variety of great, content sources as well from, daily TLDRs, Neutron, for example, on what's happening in the AI space to, great business publications as well. I still love looking at, business pubs and really, I approach marketing from a strategic perspective more than a technology perspective. So
Yes.
looking at, great business authors and even going back to some of the classics like Kotler, for example, that, just reminds you of some of the basics of marketing that can get lost when we're so technology centric today.
Yeah. And last but not least, like you said, you've been 13 years since you've started Demand Spring. What do you know now that you wish you had known earlier?
Okay, I think what I've learned now relative to 13 years ago, I think is trying to stay out of the weeds as a leader of the organization. I think over the last 2, 3 years, I've done a much better job of leading from the CEO's chair in a way that CEOs should lead and
Yes.
not getting too mired in the details. And that also includes, I still do some client delivery work to keep my consulting skills sharp and help lead the organization, but much less than I did before. And I think, that's enabled me to see the forest from the trees and be able to spot trends early, like the pivot to AI, for example, things that we need to do, services, for example, that I think push us in the right direction with respect to serving our clients and serving our own business.
Awesome. Well, it's definitely proving to be successful. And thanks for coming and sharing your success on the podcast here today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Paul. It was great being on and pleasure speaking with you, and happy to share some of my insights with your listeners and yourself.
Mark's biggest insight: successful AI integration isn't about replacing your expertise, it's about enhancing it. His innovation lab approach lets teams experiment freely while building capabilities that directly benefit clients. And I think that's the key thing, that it's still got to be business focused and outcome based. Reach out to Mark on LinkedIn and thank him for sharing his strategic pivot approach. Learn more about their AI services evolution at demandspring.com. You can watch this episode and all the others at Paul Higgins Mentoring channel on YouTube. And I'll see you next time on my podcast. What stood out to you from today's conversations? Look, building a consulting practice that doesn't resolve around you isn't easy, but it's possible. The consultants and the experts I interview have proven that. Every week I share insights from those conversations, practical strategies from people who've actually done it or help others do it. If you want to learn more from this experience, get my newsletter at paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. Just practical stuff from consultants who's figured it all out. And if this was helpful, share it with another consultant. We're all trying to crack the same code. Thanks for listening.